Good morning from Sweetwater. Glad you can spend some time with me here this morning. I invite you right here into my study where a lot of concentration and focus takes place, and where the Spirit of God really has revealed a lot to me in the particular studies I've been engaged in. I want to share something with you that's been on my mind and then was fortified by a contact, a little short correspondence with a sister of mine that I really don't know her personally, but just from online. And my daughter's introduced me to her YouTube channel, and she has a lot of good things to say, mostly geared towards women though, so it's limited what I watch. But I like her character and who she is. But her husband also had a YouTube channel, and I really enjoyed his interaction, and he was gearing, I believe, more towards men, and it was good to watch. Anyhow, I want to share with you or talk to you today about the animal kingdom and what it represents and what it is that God has given to us to be responsible for, take care of, and then live a life that's full and saturated with interact with relationships with your animals. Now, if you're not an animal person, fine. It's God has given an interest and a desire to certain people to just have these companions, have these animals, raise livestock, work horses, and things of that nature. So there's definitely a part of the individual that is drawn to the animal kingdom, and it's not everybody. But my life is saturated with, the animals that we have here at Sweetwater. Would it be my magnificent horses, my draft horses that I ride once in a while, but then I drive as well, and the work that they do, in the way they want to please me? Is it everything to do with my little border collie Sue, who is my ultimate shadow? She's right here in her bed. She has a special bed. You can't see her in my study. She has a bed by my bed. She has a crate next to my chair in the living room. And you might think that's a little over the top. And well, you need to be an animal person to appreciate it. She's my shadow. And of all my animals, I spend the most time with her. She's with me in the truck. She goes to jobs and yada yada. So anyhow, the animal kingdom. Oh, and I can't forget cats. We have a beautiful barn cat, Laramie, and my wife has an arrangements of cats here within the house. And then right outside these windows here of my study, there was a patio here already built. And then I enclosed it, and my wife has brought home, many, many strays, and she had nurtured them and brought them back to health. And out there, outside, is called a catio, and it's enclosed. And then there's a dog kennel in there that's enclosed with straw and heated cat houses, and yeah. So anyhow, our lives revolve around animals. I was interacting with this dear sister, and she mentioned her and her husband mentioned that, and I will not disclose who they are because I have not asked permission, but they just lost a dog, a beautiful canine companion. And I'm not sure if I communicated to her that how sorry I was for her loss, but it sparked something within me. Well, it didn't spark something. It's always been there within me. There's been many dogs that I have grieved over the years. And I'm going to bring this into a biblical perspective here. So just, be patient as I move along here. And I'm going to try not to make this real long either. I tend to go too long, especially for a little YouTube video. I have many dogs in my life. Since I've been 5 years old, I've always had a dog. My first dog was Penny. Then I had a beautiful, she was a beagle. And then I had a beautiful golden retriever, Snow. Then I had a beautiful Labrador retriever, Buck. Then another beautiful Labrador retriever, Cheyenne. And then another dog, which was actually my daughter's, but I got real close to it. And his name is Buddy. And I can continue on here. And then after Buddy, I got this stellar, beautiful Border Collie, working Border Collie. And there were those in the professional trial world that wanted to buy him, and that he would have been a national dog for trials. Them Border Collies you see go out a half a mile to a mile and gather their livestock and bring back. Well, that was my dog Ty. And that's how strong he was. Athletic as they could be, just alpha dog, which I had to really get under, get him down beneath me, which took a lot of work. Beautiful, stellar dog. And then I had a beautiful dog by the name of Hemp. She's another tricolor Border Collie. And the word hemp is an honor to have your Border Collie named Hemp, because Old Hemp in 1890 was the sire for the Border Collie breed. So if you named your dog Hemp, and most people wouldn't understand this, and they always chuckled at her name, it was an honor for a Border Collie to be named Hemp. And she was smart. So smart and intelligent. And now I have my little Border Collie, Sue. And she's going to be 12 in January. But she's just as healthy and spry as they come. She had 3 extractions last week, though. And this is it, right? You take care of your animals. What you have been given, you are responsible for. My beautiful horses out back, Rex and Rocky, as I roam the fields. My small flock of sheep, my ewes. I mean, these are all a participation of my life. Now my dogs. And I just want to be clear and try to draw you in to the grief that I had momentarily. Every time I lost a dog, I lost a best friend. Every time I lost a dog, I lost a little piece of my world. And when you replace that dog with another beautiful canine companion, you're not really replacing that particular dog, because that particular dog had a special piece and special place of your life that another dog could not take over. But that new dog you get, or that special, unique, older dog that you bring into your home, or a young dog you bring into your home, they have their own unique individuality. And they have their own unique way of how they touch your life. Well, I'll tell you what, losing my canine companions through the years is really difficult. I lost my parents. Obviously, I'm in my, of age now to most likely not have my parents. And yeah, I lost my parents. It was a natural progression, obviously. And when I lost my parents, I was with my mother in the room when she went to the Lord. It was so different than losing your dogs. Not to belittle me losing my parents, my father and my mother, but they're human beings and they're conscious of what's going on. And if they know Christ, they're secure. And there's not an issue when they die. Oh, the weird thing of the unknown, but not necessarily the unknown, but how we are transported to Christ. But Scripture says when we're absent from the body, we're present with Christ. Just something that we have never experienced before. Death, right? You experienced that once. And what's that like? Well, nobody's came back and told me what their experience was. Other than Jesus Christ, as he came back and he ministered to his disciples and thrust forth the church of these men. But with the canine, with the pet, they're innocent. They really don't know what's going on. I remember my good friend, veterinarian friend, when I was losing Ty, and I gave her a phone call. I said, it's time. And she came over here to the farm, which was so gracious of her. And I got my Border Collie Ty, 50-some pounds of them, and put them in my arms and on my lap. And it's just a little emotional thinking about it. She was so gracious how she put him down. And it was time. I mean, he was 16. And for a Border Collie, that's pretty long. My Hemp, before I lost him, she was 13. And the thing about the canine is they're running around, enjoying life, and you would never even know they're sick, and then bang, for the most of the time. Now, there could be some chronic illnesses, and you work through them. And this dear sister I was interacting with, her and her husband, obviously knew the time was coming, because She communicated to me that they were struggling through the summer with this dog, and then now in the mid-fall they lost him or her, I don't know. But when I my other dogs, it's like, they're running around, and then 2 days later you have to put them down because something happened, and they're chronically ill, and you can't just let them go on, maybe a week or so, but then you bury them. It's horrible. So with the canine, it's hard for me when I lose my dog, because I lose a dear friend. I lose a companion that has been with me for years. And the thing that stinks about the canine, 10, 16 years, part of your life is all you get. Not like a horse, it's 25, 30 years or so, but just a short time, a decade or a little over a decade. But I remember Ty, I was holding him, and then my friend helped me put him down, and I just sat there underneath the silver maple with him in the mid-morning and just held him for 45 minutes or so before I had to bury him. And it's difficult, and it's rough. Now I want to bring this into a biblical perspective, because I believe there are some that just belittle this whole thing and this relationship we have with our canine friends. I remember as a young man when I lost Buck, one of my mentors, a dear saint, but raised, through the 50s and 60s, and with a different perspective of where we are in our Christian walk, and, a real separatist view of the world. And it's all good, and that's what I learned under, but the Spirit of God has given me some other clarity and direction since then. When I lost my one dear, beautiful Buck at a young age, he said, Barry, don't get too attached. Don't get too attached. Don't get distracted. I was young. I didn't understand what he was saying, but I thought, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't get that attached because I'm getting attached to the world, and it will pull me away from my relationship with Christ. And as I grew and matured and learned, I thought, no. If I wasn't attached, if I didn't grieve that particular dog, Buck, at that time, there would be a problem. There would be an issue, because that would represent a detachment order. I wouldn't have attached to that dog. I wouldn't have attached to him in a healthy way, like our human relationships. If you have an attachment disorder, there's always going to be issues and situations through your life. No, it's healthy to become attached. So let's get into the biblical text here shortly. For briefly. Where was Adam in Genesis chapter 2? God just went through this whole beautiful creation. Okay, he created the mountains and the fields, and he created, the grasses and the trees and the livestock and the birds and the fish and all these beautiful things. Then he brought Adam into the world. He formed Adam outside the garden, perhaps, and he brought him into the garden, but he created him from the dust and the dirt of the earth. And then what did God give Adam? Animal companionship. Now remember, in Genesis chapter 2, where I wrote it down here, chapter 2, verses 19 through 20, what did God do? He brought the animals in front of Adam, and Adam named them. And how do you name something? You have to know them intimately. You got to know their characteristics, their quirkiness, their excitement, or their demeanors and things like that. You have to have an intimate knowledge of who they are to be able to name them and identify them and label them, right? So what did Adam have? He had this beautiful animal kingdom. Can you imagine walking up to a lion and giving it a big hug? Or walking up to that big old grizzly bear and giving it a bear hug? Can you imagine seeing the groundhog with the coyote, or with the fox, or the fox with the turkeys, or with the fowl? It would be astounding. That's what Adam had in his garden. It was paradise. So here's what I often say when it comes to the biblical text. We always rush to Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, and as worthy as that is, as the promised Redeemer, I'm not belittling that at all, but let's look at all the life that was lived before that. We don't know the exact time, what it was. Was it short? Was it long? And then, God created Eve after Adam from his flesh, from his rib. But that's not the point of the context of this video. He had a beautiful interactive relationship with his wife, obviously more so and intimate than in the animal kingdom. But what does God emphasize here in Genesis chapter 2? If you really read it and look at it, Adam had this beautiful, in-depth, interactive relationship with these animals. And that's what we have today. But here's the kicker. When Adam and Eve disobeyed and they sinned, the main thing was they lost connection to the head, as Paul stated. But they lost connection to the animal kingdom. Not only did they lose connection to their God, which was the most devastating thing at all. They lost that interactive fellowship with them. Now that fellowship was restored here and there and there and here, and they had interaction, but not like the garden. But what did Adam lose? He lost his connection with his dear animal kingdom. He lost the companionship. He could no longer go up to the lion. He could no longer go up to the bear. And now he was perceived as a predator and a threat to the others. Can you imagine the grief that he experienced? Not only losing his intimate interaction with God and as God walked with them in the cool of the day, but he lost his interactive fellowship, time, and life with the animal kingdom. How devastating is that? So when we lose a faithful companion, when we lose one of our dogs or our cats or our horses, and we grieve over them, don't feel guilty. And understand that there's a reason that we grieve. First of all, it's the loss of what we had. And there's a kind of a hole in our heart because they're not with us any longer. But do you know the other thing they often bring up? We're not created to experience death. We're not created to experience loss of a loved one, especially of a spouse or of a loved one, of our animals. When they're gone and they die, we weren't programmed to be able to handle that and deal with that. That is so far into our soul, because that's not how we were created. So that's a struggle right there that we have to get over as well. And it alters us sometimes. So what I would leave you with in this video, just, thank the Lord for the animals that you have and the ones that you're responsible for and the blessings they are to you in your world, in your life. I can often tell of a person and who they are and their character by the way they treat their animals. I can tell the individual if there is a good or bad character within them by the way they treat their livestock. There's been many farms I've been on, and they're clean and they're organized and their animals are bright and they're healthy. And that represents the character of a man. It certainly does. And as we grow in Christ and become more like him, what did the one plumber from Lisbon over in Northern Ireland say? He was a plumber. The book's here somewhere. A beautiful soul. He wrote a short book. Had just a unique interactive relationship he had with Christ, and he was a tradesman. I respect him greatly. In one of his chapters, he said, when you have this relationship with Christ, you're not going to be, you're not going to kick the dog. You're not going to throw the cat off the table because you have a softness to your soul and you're open and you're available for them. So I just wanted to leave you with that. This little interaction I had with this dear sister. I really don't know her, but I know her character, and her husband. I know his character. Because what they say and how they share. on their YouTube channel. And it just triggered me to have this, put this little video together, because I've experienced the grief of losing the canine many times. And you often grieve even before, when they're getting older, right? So anyhow, be thankful for what we have. Be thankful that God gave us these beautiful animals to dwell with and interact with. And be thankful that we're responsible for them and we care for them, because it's such a privilege, is it not? So, well, until next time, that's all I needed to share this morning. Until next time, thank you for listening, if you continued through the whole video here. And until next time, we'll see you back here at Sweetwater. Until then, have a wonderful day. Bye for now.